There is some major news in the automotive lighting world if you have an 09 to 18 Ram, and that is Morimoto just did the ultimate mic drop. They made an all-new housing that's better than any other housing on the market. I've ordered 14 right there, and all of them are not nearly as good as what we see in front of us. As you can see, there's 3 different kinds. I'm going to discuss the XB EVO Hybrid. We're going to discuss the XB EVO, the Mac Daddy of them all, and then the XRGB XB EVO. It's really interesting that we have an RGB function built in to such a high quality headlight, and I want to dive into each one of these and then obviously show you just how much bright these babies are. Starting with this right here, which is the Morimoto XB EVO Hybrid. So there's a lot less features in here than the XB EVO and the RGB version that we're going to get to in just a second. But what it does have is 2 Bio-LED projectors on the inside of here. There's only 2. This other projector right here that would normally do high beam is actually a dummy projector. There's nothing there. It's all black, but it's totally blacked out on the inside. When it's off, then you're not going to notice that at all. So these 2 Bio-LED projectors are just as bright as every other XB EVO headlight that I'm going to show you today. They're extremely bright, and they're all designed by Yoshihisa in California. I call him right now. He's a really good dude, but he's also really intelligent. He's hard to understand, so let me put it to you in layman's terms. These things are stupid bright. Their low beam is intense, and you got that modern light output with a beautiful cutoff that you're not used to. And I get it. In the comments, you're going to say, I don't like that. I like the little dip. However, the new light output is so much better. And when you're driving down the road and you're actually using this headlight housing on the front end of your Ram, that new beam pattern gives you so much more light output on the left side. It doesn't just drop it down on the bottom. I want to put that out there right now because that was the comments on the last XB EVO that we launched. Everybody was like, why? Why is it like that? That's why. Because it's better. This headlight is also obviously a sealed LED housing. There is no incandescent bulbs here at all, no halogen bulbs to replace, and that is a win. Now, the daytime running light is in white, as you can see here. That goes across here and down below here. Right now we're in parking light mode, but this is only offered in a white DRL. You cannot switch it. So if you want something different, you might have to go for the more expensive versions that I'm going to show you in a second. There's no keys that you have to replace on the backside, but that also means you only get one type of turn signal, and it looks just like this. The hybrid headlights are still designed, engineered, and tested in the USA, and they're built with the highest standards using the latest in technology and raw materials today. Even with just the entry-level headlight, the hybrid version, it still has the Morimoto 5-year warranty, so you're not going to have to worry about issues. So, the other thing that's really interesting is that the projectors right here are only ran at about 50% of their full potential. And that is for compliance reasons. They are DOT compliant and follow all the codes from the FM VMSS 108, all of that stuff. This is compliant. You can drive down the road legally and not have to worry. If you want to unlock a little bit more brightness, about 30% more brightness, get yourself one of these. Yes, this Supercharged Driver will work on the backside of even the entry-level headlight. The coolest part is you're going to have a much more intense low beam and a much more intense high beam. And side note, a little cherry on top with this Supercharged Driver is if you purchase this and you slap it on the backside of your hybrid headlight, you also then unlock the startup feature. You're not going to have all 3 projectors because there's only 2 projectors, but they are going to chase each other when you start it up. They're going to be a slow on startup, it's beautiful, and then it's going to fade off. Just kind of a little treat. If you've got a little bit more money and a lot more brains, you would get something like this. No, that was mean. If you want to step up the front end of your vehicle, this is where it's at. This is the Morimoto XB EVO. This is the Mac Daddy of them all. You can choose between a white daytime running light or an amber daytime running light with these keys right here. And obviously there's 4 of them. So we could dive in deep on those, but essentially what happens is you take one of these keys and you put it in the back side of the headlight housing. That'll give you either the amber or the white daytime running light. The other setting that you're going to be able to change on your own to customize the front end of your vehicle is to either choose the standard fade off effect turn signal or the sequential turn signal. All of it's included in the kit. You don't have to buy anything extra. So if your truck looks better with the amber daytime running light, go with that. Now on to the brightness. Mind you, they are the brightest out of every single headlight housing. It's the same projectors that are in the hybrid version, except there's a lot more to it. So you still have those bi-LED projectors that do both low beam and high beam. And then there's an additional projector in here. We're calling it the D-Optic, and that produces a high beam that will blow any other high beam out of the water from any headlight housing, guaranteed. I don't know if I can guarantee it, but I'm gonna guarantee it because I haven't found anything else that's better than this so far. Just like the hybrid version, the projectors right here are only at about 50% of their capacity, and that is because of the compliance issue, like I said. You could still install the Supercharged Driver on the back side. I'll show you real quick. On the back side here, this is what it looks like, and it's just a few bolts. You remove those bolts, you pull it away, you unplug it, you grab your new Supercharged Driver, you slap it on the backside. Now, I will let you guys know that you are no longer DOT compliant if you install the Supercharged Driver. It's just too bright and it exceeds the maximum allowance for brightness. I know it's a little hard to see, but right down here is the key, and you can actually disconnect it and connect it and replace it with another one, just like this. It's that easy to change the settings on how your entire headlight works and operates. So I know the competitors and the other manufacturers out there are watching this video and they're saying, all right, I can hang. I just got to make my low beam, high beam a heck of a lot brighter, make my features a lot more cool. But then there's the heater function, and that's going to be one of the hardest things to replicate, to slap in an actual heater that operates under certain conditions. I grew up in Minnesota, and LEDs don't get as hot as halogen bulbs. And my headlights would definitely freeze over. It would snow constantly, and it would be so cold out there that you would actually not be able to see, because it's just warm enough to melt it, but not warm enough to keep it off the headlight, so then it would just freeze over. LEDs are very efficient. They need to get hotter, and they don't until now because you have an integrated heater inside of this headlight housing. To turn it on, it's really simple. You just flash your headlights 4 times. It will then flash back at you twice and say, what's up, dude? All is well. My heater is on, and you're gonna be able to see very, very well. If all conditions are not met, it's going to give you a 1 flashback, which is gonna say it's actually not cold enough out here yet. The last thing that Morimoto wanted to do was heat up the internal temperature of this headlight housing when it's hot outside. It would totally burn out everything. It would just not last as long as they wanted it to. This headlight still has that startup feature, whether you have the Supercharged Driver or not installed. And don't worry, if you do install that Supercharged Driver, you aren't gonna void the warranty. It's not gonna be any issue. It's still got that 5-year warranty. If you're really picky about style points, when you turn these headlight housings off, you're gonna be able to see the difference. The hybrids were that piano black color, where inside here, the shrouds are this titanium look. And in my opinion, it looks so good. It gives your headlight, when these are turned off, just more definition. It lets everybody know, hey, what's up? This is actually modified. I paid a lot of money for it because I wanted something that's epic. This is the first time that I've seen Morimoto launch 3 different headlight housings for the Ram at one time. This is the XRGB EVO. That means that it's one of the best headlights that you can install on your housing, but then it's also got that RGB daytime running light. It's actually an RGBWA, which means that it's got all of the chips for your RGB. You're gonna have every color you could possibly think of. The W obviously stands for white, and the A stands for amber. There's an array of RGB chips in here, a full-on new array of amber chips and white. So you're not gonna lose any intensity if you wanted to run around with just the white daytime running light or the amber daytime running light. And you can use the free Morimoto app. You download it, and then you can control this and make it look however you want to. If you're in that Morimoto app and you turn the RGBs off, it's then going to operate as if you had the keys on there. So if you had the key that ran with the amber daytime running light, it will then work 100% just the way it should. The white daytime running light, so on and so forth. Then you can always go back to that RGB section, maybe when you park in a parking lot, and show off your headlights. I think that this goes without saying, but you can't drive on the streets, I don't think, in any state with RGB scrolling like this. There's maybe a few other colors at a couple different states that will allow you something besides a white or an amber, but just to be safe, I'm gonna say that this is not DOT compliant. Now, everything else is compliant inside, the projectors, everything like that. It's all replicating the XB EVO, except for the side marker here, which is a little bit different. You do need the side marker on the side of this headlight housing to be amber for it to be fully DOT compliant. Since this is an RGB, and we probably don't care as much about the compliance, they smoked it out. Pretty cool. The RGB version is a lot more similar to the XB EVO, the higher end than the XB Hybrid. It's got the same titanium shrouds. It looks the same when it is off as the XB EVO. It has the same projectors. It still has that D projector right here for high beam, so you get that intense high beam. You still can install the Supercharged Driver to give yourself 30% more brightness. You still have the 4 included keys to swap it from either a sequential turn signal, a standard blink turn signal, or a white or amber daytime running light. The only feature that's lacking, and that's just because that's a lot of junk to put in one headlight housing that's not absolutely massive, is the heater function. So you're not gonna get that. You'll only get that with the Morimoto XB EVO. Another really cool thing that actually every one of these 3 headlights have is this surface texture on the daytime running light. It's hard to show on camera, but essentially, no matter what your angle is that you're looking at this, so if you got your friends and you gather them around and you show off your new headlights on the front end of your Ram, no matter which person is looking at it, they're all gonna see the same intensity of light. It's really cool. One thing you'll notice is if you installed something cheaper, sure, your daytime running light might be bright there, but if you then move over there, it completely disappears. You don't have that problem with the daytime running light on any one of these 3 different headlight housings. As you can see, I'm pretty excited about all 3 of these headlight housings launching. We had the Morimoto XB for so long, and it was a great headlight, but this absolutely destroys the old Morimoto XB headlight housing. It was one of the first headlight housings we got our hands on at Headlight Revolution, and this to replace the Morimoto XB that was out years ago blows it out of the water. I'm gonna compare all 3 of these headlights compared to the Morimoto XB that you probably have already installed in your vehicle, or you know of a friend that has installed in their vehicle, and you're gonna see just how much greater of an improvement of light output this one has. So I'm gonna show you guys the light outputs now. What I'm gonna do is actually install 2 of these headlights in a truck about 10 meters away from the wall, but we did do a very controlled test just based off of 1 headlight. And we did this multi-point testing system, which gives you the width score, the foreground score, and so much. It then gets put into a complicated equation. We'll show you exactly how we did it. We'll link it in the video below here. And that's how we got the numbers for the stock reflector, the stock projector, the XB EVO, the EVO Hybrid, and even this one right here. The first headlight we're going to use as the benchmark for this Ram is the OE reflector headlight. That's those reflectors on the inside. They project all of that light, and you get this. On low beam, we're using the multi-point testing system. We only got a 2.3 for the distance zone score. On high beam, I got a 3.6 with a width score of 1.7. So the overall rating after our testing was 2.7. Now this actually is not that bad of a headlight when you compare it to other aftermarket headlights that put the light in the exact wrong position. This does a pretty decent job. A 2.7 is a really bad rating, but other headlights out there are just trash. What's also funny is that the projector version, people would say this is the improvement, but in our testing it was actually less bright. It was less usable. Our low beam distance score was a 2.4, whereas the high beam was a 2.0 and a terrible width score of 1.2. So the overall rating of the OE projector headlights for the Ram was a 2.2. Again, less than the reflector-based headlight. That's kind of interesting. I know you're gonna ask, well, how does the original Morimoto XB compare to these ones? I did a full-on video about this, but I might as well include it here. This is the original Morimoto XB headlight, and it actually performed really good in comparison to all the other ones we tested in our massive shootout. You gotta watch that video as well. On low beam, it was a 7.8. High beam, the distance zone score was 8.3 with a width score of 3.1. So the overall rating was 5.5. Remember, this is out of 10, so there is still so much room for improvement. Thankfully, Morimoto did step it up, and this is what you get. This is the Morimoto XB EVO Hybrid, so this is the entry level of the new 09 to 18 Ram headlights. The distance zone score on low beam was a 6.4 with a high beam of 6.4 as well. Remember, these are bi-LED projectors. There's 2 of them in each one of these headlights. It gives you a width score of 4.0. That's better than we have seen yet, and an overall rating of 6.4. A 6.4 compared to the original lights of 5.5 is pretty awesome. Now here's where things get really interesting. If you don't care so much about compliance and you wanted to install the Supercharged Driver on the backside, you get a much more punch of light. You get a 7.2 on low beam and a 7.2 on high beam. Your width score is now a 6.7 with overall rating of 7.3. As you can see, you've got that beautiful color, that beautiful beam pattern, that hot spot punches the light down the road, so when you're actually driving down the road, it's very comfortable on your eyes. You're gonna be able to see much better. It's a safety improvement overall. Now, like I said, the Supercharged Driver slapped on the back of this, that is sold separately, does make these headlights no longer compliant. They're no longer DOT compliant. Keep that in mind. This is for off-road use only. Now, we dive into what you're all here for, the Morimoto XB EVO, the top dog. Again, these are the same projectors used in the XB EVO and the XRGB headlight, so these numbers are relevant for either or. Low beam was a 6.7. High beam was a distance zone score of 7.1 with the width score of 4.1. So the overall rating of this headlight is the best that we've seen so far, is 6.9, and it's DOT compliant. So if you want the best that you can get that's also DOT compliant, this is the configuration, this is the setup. It's better than any other headlight that we have tested. I'll save you 20 minutes of your time if you just watch this and know this is by far the brightest thing we've ever tested when it comes to the whole headlight assembly on the 09 to 18 Ram. And of course, just for the cherry on top, if you wanted to put that Supercharged Driver on this one as well, it blows every single thing else out of the water. On low beam, I got a 6.9. High beam, I got a wild 9.4. It's so intense because that extra D-Optic, remember that D projector, is super bright and it's an incredible high beam assist. It's got a width score of 4.8 and an overall rating of 7.9. If you want the absolute best, this is the way to do it. These numbers are epic. So after all of that, I know you're saying, shut up and take my money. I want to leave you guys with this. It comes with absolutely everything that you need for your 09 to 18 Ram. Doesn't matter if you have the projector headlights or the reflector headlights or it's an HD, every single component is included except for that Supercharged Driver. Don't be that guy, just spend a little bit extra money on this. And I say that because it's going to completely change your nighttime driving experience. This is the best headlight you could ever purchase for the 09 to 18 Ram. All 3 of these have a 5-year warranty. They're on our website, headlightrevolution.com right now. Get these if they're in stock, because I'm assuming these are gonna be blown out really soon. Also, if there's any other headlight that you guys could think of that you think is gonna be brighter or better or have cooler features, please post that in the comments section below. I will truly read that and I will truly use the company card and purchase it so we can compare it. We want the best products on our website, and that's why we got these babies on it.